Now, loops don't mean anything for the one who uses them, right? Back onto my little 2 millisecond delay story on my new compressor. The problem I have with modular synthesis is that... Welcome to Beer Club. Hey guys, welcome to the Kane audio vlog. It is Friday. It's time for another Ask Me Anything. Usual rules apply. Comment anything you want below this video and I'll get back to you in next week's video. Before I look at last week's video, is there any house admin? I'm sure I wrote down a few things earlier today. Yes, so by the time this video goes out, I filmed this on a Thursday, release it on a Friday. My third and final single from my album should be available on iTunes as part of pre-ordering the album. It is called Liquid Dreams. It is one of my favourites on the album. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. It's one of my favourites on the album. So yeah, if you pre-order that on iTunes now, then you should instantly get Open Windows, which this time last week still wasn't working. In fact, this morning it was still not working, and I'm annoyed at that, but whatever, that's life. But you should have Open Windows, Memories, and now Liquid Dreams, and that is it for the next 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks until the album itself comes out, so on to part 2 of my house admin, which is very much related to my album Kickstarter. For those of you, and I know quite a few of the YouTube subscribers did buy the pre-order CD on Kickstarter. Again, thank you very much for that. I am at the point of printing labels. I've done a couple of test prints today and it's all up and running. So over the next few days or so, I should be printing out address labels and signing the CDs and sending them out. They're so precious, I don't even have a CD to hold in front of me. They're all boxed up over there at the minute. Otherwise I would. And then finally, Spotify, the playlist 5302 Electronica was updated last week. So it was just after last week's video went out, so I wouldn't have said it was updated. It's now been updated. If you're not up to date, get up to date. There'll be a link below this video. I think that is it for house admin. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I did have a think earlier on and nothing came to mind. So there we go. Oh, and great. Chrome has just crashed on me. Give me 1 second. Right, hopefully I've had enough time to cut all that crap out the edit. So, where were we? Right. This is Ask Me Anything 120. Unbelievable. Welcome to Beer Club. Today, I am trying a Pollys Brew Pineapple Express IPA. Cheers. So, looking at last week's video, episode 119. I just can't believe we've actually done 120 of these AMAs. It seems ridiculous. I can smell the pineapple coming off that. Right, starting at the top, Fanfan87, Saludom, cover, high five, and cheers. Oh, it is very pineapple-y. Great POV on samples, but I want to introduce a bit of a debate. Electronic music, especially house music, has been built on samples, right, but on samples you had to sample yourself, being involved in the process of listening, hours of disco and funk to find the loop you wanted to work on. Now, loops don't mean anything for the one who uses them, right? Yes, a good sound is a good sound, but you lost the spirit of the sound. I assume there is a difference between picking good samples and sampling yourself. What's your opinion? That's a good question. a very good point as well. So I kind of agree, but kind of disagree. So I think it's just different. I don't think it's any less work. I mean, and let's be honest, why should it be work? If you want to find a good kick drum, is there a skill in just listening to lots of kick drums and finding a good one? Because it's kind of subjective. I think the skill is maybe deciding which kick drum goes with which clap, snare, whatever. And while I appreciate that what you're saying is absolutely true, that I'm not disagreeing with the content of what you're saying in terms of, yeah, people would have had to delve through all of their vinyl and cut out bits and pieces. And I think I touched on last week, I said about the Amen break and being an example where it spawned the whole of breakbeat and drum and bass and jungle, at least. So yeah, people sort of went through and chopped out, maybe they like a kick drum, or maybe they like a stab sound from a brass band, maybe they like a snare drum or something. There's a lot to pick and choose, and you'll be listening through all your vinyl collection, or maybe hunting out rare classics or little hidden gems in a record store and finding that perfect snare. That is a talent, that is a skill in hunting those sounds down and finding them and using them. I'm not denying that at all. But really, is it any different to today? I don't even know how many kick drums there are on my computer. I mean, tens of thousands? Am I going to sit there listening to, let's say it's 20, 30,000 kick drums? Am I going to sit there listening to 30,000? Or am I going to hunt through and find the best ones and then narrow it down? Okay, I'm not doing intensive labor, but the premise is kind of the same. I think it's just a different way of doing it today, that I'll admit is easier, but I don't think that loses any skill or talent, because I think different people have different skills and different talents in different areas, and something I've always said about electronic musicians and electronic music producers in particular, if you're a drummer in a band, you just play drums. Nobody expects you to play guitar. Nobody expects you to sing lead vocals on top. Nobody expects you to know how to use a compressor. Nobody expects you to use a mixer or to know anything about any of the studio gear other than your drum kit. That's all you need to know, is how to use your drum kit, how to play a beat to the rest of the band or for the rest of the band, and you're good to go. If you're the lead guitarist in a band, you know how to play lead guitar. You might sing, you might be a vocalist on top, but nobody says you have to. You choose to do that. But again, nobody tells you have to learn how to use New York compression techniques on a certain drum kit or a certain drum sound. Nobody tells you that that you need to be mixing and mastering your band's tracks. But for some reason in electronic music, it's kind of assumed that we all have to sit there hunting out all the samples, and we have to sample every sound ourselves, and we have to do all the sound design, and we have to do all the preset design, and we have to then do all the production and all the arrangement and all the melodic construction and all the harmonizing and all the vocals and everything on top, and then we have to do all the mixing, and then we have to do all the mastering, and then we have to do, nowadays, running the record label and doing the promotions and the video, and running a YouTube channel and all of these things that we now have to do. And I feel like, well, really, you don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. So while I kind of agree with what you're saying, that yes, there was a skill in people sifting through hundreds of records looking for that one snare drum or that one kick drum or whatever it was they wanted to steal from the record. I get that, and it was a talent and still is a talent, but I think that's not the be all and end all of making electronic music. That's not the be all and end all of using samples. And it's something I've touched on before, where some of you will recognize the semi-modular synth over there, or synths. I've always kind of steered clear. I saw a video today, in fact, of one of the reasons why I kind of steer clear of modular synthesis and have done for so long. I'm now of an age and in a musical place in the world where I want to kind of just experiment just for my own enjoyment, and I'm okay with that. But until recently, I wanted to just make music to a very set standard and specification, and modular synthesis is like the opposite of that, basically, because the video I saw today was I don't know what it was called or who it was, but it was some guy who had literally a room stacked full of modular synths, and he was sort of giving a demo and playing around with everything, and in all honesty, he had, I mean, probably thousands, but I'll say at least hundreds of modules all running at the same time, hours and hours of patching cables, and the end result sounded like pretty much any modular synth I've ever heard. It was just a series of weird random bleeps, and there was just nothing to it. Now, I'm not meaning any disrespect for that, because there's a reason for me saying this. There's a market for modular synthesis, and that's not the same market as Taylor Swift fans. They're two very different things, and I think there's a market for people who look for those golden little rare nuggets to sample from a record, and there are those who just need a good kick drum quickly. So I think I've ranted probably long enough on that, but that's kind of where I sit with the whole sampling. But I think, yes, you're right, that sampling from records and digging those out and finding those hidden gems is definitely a skill. But equally, I think it's a skill that I could live without, basically. Back onto my little 2 millisecond delay story on my new compressor. It was indeed cables. I changed them by 4 same ones, and it works now. There we go. So like I said at the time, first of all, I'm glad you sorted it out. Cheers to that. I seem to remember saying something along the lines of, different cables of different thicknesses and different materials and things will have slightly different resistance values. And you're down to probably milliohms of differences that will certainly just delay an electron by that fraction enough to make a difference. And clearly, if you've got, say, a 1 meter cable in your left, and then and it's a 1 meter gold plated cable in your left channel, and then a 20 meter copper wire single core in your right channel, then there's going to be a discrepancy. And I think you had a phasing issue as well, didn't you? So I'm glad that's all sorted. What a bizarre story. So now it works perfectly. Looking for another hardware rack to add. It's not necessary, but it's better to sell a sound engineer image. Hardware always looks more serious job. Yeah, I think we need to talk more about that at some point. I say this sat in front of racks of equipment, and I don't think you can see behind the chair that it goes from there down to the floor. But yeah, I fully admit that some of them I bought because I just felt like I needed knobs to twiddle. There we go. Yeah, it's an odd one, but I get it. And I think certainly depending on what kinds of clients you have or want to have, I'll give you an example. I had a phone call. In fact, I think I might have mentioned it in one of these videos when it happened. It was a few years ago. Was it Sky News? I think Sky News phoned me up. There was something in the news about Ed Sheeran having copied another art or allegedly copied another artist's song or something. And I randomly got a phone call from Sky News saying, yeah, we're doing a piece on this. Can we borrow your studio to film it and just ask you a few questions? And they wanted photos of a big mixing desk, basically. And they wanted to sort of have me sat in front of a mixing desk. And I went, I'm not that kind of studio. I don't have a massive mixing desk. It's all done on the computer these days. So don't bother. And I wouldn't want to anyway. But whatever. Yeah, there we go. Maybe that's another conversation for another time. Cheers. Have a great beer. Or coffee. I don't know now, lol. Yeah. So this week it's beer. I think, was it last week? Last week I had a beer, and then the week before I didn't have anything. I can't remember. Definitely beer club this week. Moving on, Dream Puppet cover, high five. Your videos are very cool, Dom. Nice point of view related to the hooks. It's true that a non-traditional definition hooks can also manifest in wider variations, including technical stuff. You have to populate the third spot of your new rack. All the best. Yeah, the third spot on my rack. Yeah, I kind of bought it knowing that I'm going to have to put something in there. And I still don't know what. So funnily enough, as I was just talking about with modular synths, I just, the problem I have with modular synthesis is that there's really very little that can be done on modular synths that can't be completely replicated in the digital realm or with any other synth in terms of just overall sound. There aren't many. I'm yet to hear many modular synths that were quick and easy to dial up as well. So I've heard some modular synths that make some incredible noises, but I feel like those probably took hours to dial into those sounds, and so I'm okay with just treading water with the semi-modular stuff that I've got now. I'm good with that because I know I can, if I want to quickly just dial up a sound to throw in a melody or whatever, then I know I can do that. So yeah, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I guess maybe I just feel like I need to take it slow and steady, basically, because I know that some people go with modular gear and they just suddenly spend thousands on loads of things and then they don't know what everything does, and I don't know, it's easy to go overkill with modular, I suppose. So there we go. Yanis Lokmal's cover, high five. Mika Kearns, awesome, thank you. I think that is it. Yeah, I can see. Oh, that's Mika Kearns thing is spam, and Reality on X has used emoticons to explain that, and FanFan87 has said, we said changing YouTube titles would bring a new audience, right? Well, it works technically. Yeah, so it's one of those technically the truth moments. Look, as far as I'm concerned, pandemic time is still going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on, so I'm not expecting huge amounts of people to suddenly rush to YouTube to ask me questions. Also, let's not forget, this has been 120 episodes now. That's 120 videos of me waffling on like an old man. So yeah, I can only thank you all very much for listening to these and hearing my rants. I know some of you enjoy them, and I'm sure there are lots of people that watch these things that do not enjoy my rants at all. Although, interestingly, I very, very rarely get a thumbs down, which, again, I'm very thankful for. So there we go. Maybe it's just boring and not controversial. And maybe I should be more controversial. Who knows? Anyway, I'm waffling again. I am going to edit this video that you're currently watching and finish my beer and enjoy the rest of my evening. I hope you all have a very good weekend. If you've made it this far into the video, then comment the word NASA to prove that you've made it this far, and I'll give you a high five in next week's video, because NASA tests space launch system rocket booster for ... Who knows? I actually watched the NASA video last week of the failed launch, which was a shame, but never mind. I'll see you this time next week. Cheers.